Why hello there. Few things before we start. Number 1, these are my top 3 melee weapons, not yours. If you don't like them, that's okay. Number 2, these are melee weapons that focus on light attacks, as it is difficult enough to pick 3 out of the massive pool that we have without mixing in the heavy attack weapons, so heavy attack weapons will get their video in the future. And number 3, I'm using these weapons on my melee focused Inaros, which runs corrosive projection that strips away a bit of the enemy armor, 2 gladiator mods which gives you a mini blood rush effect that stacks on top of blood rush, and I'm running Warcry and Arcane Strike for a ton of extra attack speed. So if you decide to pick any of these weapons up and they don't seem quite as strong as they did in this video, this is why. And finally 4, no Zors. Okay? This time around, I actually ordered the weapons from weakest to strongest, so in at number 1 we have the absolute beauty that is the Sentient Slayer Parasis. The builds are gonna be pretty samey across the board. We run some kind of a stance for the Parasis, I prefer the Cleaving Whirlwind, then we run Weeping Wounds and Blood Rush to scale status and crit chance, Organ Chatter for crit damage, Condi Overload for generic damage, Berserker Fury for attack speed, and then Vicious Frost and Virulent Scourge for viral. The thing you will notice here is that the dual stat mods are not ranked up. Most of the time they're gonna be unranked, or one of them is gonna have 1 rank on it. This is deliberate to get a nice ratio of slash and viral. You usually want it to be somewhere around 2 to 1 in favor of slash. And to top it all off, we're gonna run either Primed Reach to get more range, or a Primed Smite mod for extra sweaty damage. Though Primed Reach is gonna be preferable 9 out of 10 times, as having more range on your melee weapon is very important. It allows your multi-hit combos to hit more reliably, resulting in better DPS, and for most weapons it will also allow you to swat flying enemies out of the air. As far as the Parasis itself is concerned, it is an absolutely fantastic weapon. There's a reason why so many people use this, it feels great and it does good damage. Though with this particular build there is a noticeable ramp up to the damage, as we're running Condition Overload and we're mostly relying on slash damage over time. However, that's not all, because the Parasis also has something really good going for it. It does 60% more damage to sentients, and it will reset sentient damage resistances with every hit. You do need to put 5 Forma on the weapon to unlock the full bonus though, which will also allow the weapon to go all the way up to rank 40 and get a bunch of extra mod capacity. The Parasis is an absolute beast, and I would recommend it to absolutely everyone. Because even though the single target isn't quite as good as it is on the other 2 weapons I'm about to show you, it is still more than good enough, even for status resistant enemies like the Acolytes. In at number 2, I put one of my all-time favorites, a damn near perfect hybrid weapon. Behold, the Cronin Prime. The build, except for the stance of course, is exactly the same as on the Parasis. Hybrid with Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds and Condition Overload that's topped off with either Primed Reach or a Primed Smite mod. Now, while the Cronin doesn't have as much AoE as the almighty Parasis, its single target damage is considerably better. It's downright gross how much damage this thing can pump out. Its upfront damage is great, its bleed damage is even better, and it's fast as hell. This thing absolutely rips through Steel Path. It is amazing, and I would recommend it any day of the week. It does come with a bit of a drawback though. It's not a particularly mobile weapon. Once you start attacking with it, you can't move around too much. But honestly, that's more of a nitpick than anything else. This is just a great weapon through and through, and even though it relies mostly on slash damage over time to take care of the really beefy enemies, the upfront damage is still more than enough to take care of status-resistant enemies like Acolytes. Now, both of those weapons were really good. But what if we were to take the AoE of the Parasis and combined it with the damage of the Cronin Prime? Well, we would get the Guandal Prime, wouldn't we? Now, while the build here is almost exactly the same as on the other 2 weapons, the big difference here is Boreal's Contempt. This is a polearm specific mod that provides less damage than both Condition Overload and Primed Pressure Point, but in return, you get more damage from your status effects. The Guandal Prime might not necessarily do the most damage out of all the melee weapons, but the fact that it does some of the best damage in the game, with 6 meters of range, and the best combos of any melee weapons that allow you to sprint, just make it the king of all light attack weapons. I've yet to find a melee weapon that would come even close to the absolute magnificence that is the Guandal Prime. It is simply the best. This weapon just has no downsides. I dare you to find one bad thing about it. It's perfect. I mean, look at this. The build I'm running actively sacrifices upfront damage to do more damage over time, yet it still slaps the Acolyte around like it's nothing. I don't even know what else there is to say. The Guandal Prime is simply too good for you not to have it, so go ahead and farm it up. And that is pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, let me know what are your top 3 light attack melee weapons in the comment section down below, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.